Yes, perfect. Sir, the angle can be adjusted little though. I mean, I can see you better. Yes, I think it's
You
perfect.
can see me now?
Yes, I can. Good
Yeah.
morning, sir. It's such a pleasure to have you, and I'm so glad that I can connect on a Saturday morning with you here. How are you doing?
So
How are you?
I'm doing fine. And what about you? It's a pleasure to be connected with you on this link.
The pleasure is all mine. I'm doing very well. I'm staying with my sisters and at her place, so I'm safe, all safe with family. So
That's good.
we'll start discussing, the major agenda of this meeting, which is the pandemic that we are facing currently. What do you think? I mean, how are you holding up? I mean, it's such a hard time to stay indoors, and given the person that you are always traveling, and you are a globe trotter, and you are everywhere. You're from colleges and from companies and everything. How are you holding up, staying indoors and staying in one place?
Well, one learns to hold up, one learns to kind of adjust to a newer environment. And when one realizes that the world is going through something which they haven't gone through in a very, very long time,
Yeah.
your own sacrifice seems like minuscule and irrelevant. So we did travel in February. We were in the Andamans. We were going to the epicenter in Europe on the 25th of April. So we put all travel on hold, and we have taken the time to be kind of home, followed the isolation instructions to the maximum extent possible. So holding up hasn't been such a problem because the phone is connected, the emails are connected, the WhatsApps are connected. It's also good quality time to spend with my family, with my cats, and so it's not bad.
Oh, okay. That's amazing to hear. I mean, obviously, we are very privileged to stay at home, and we have a house and we have family to take care of us. But do you think life has, in general, around us, changed before? Like, is it like an era that will be marked before Corona and after Corona? And anything has, in particular, around you, especially changed during these times?
I personally think that Corona is a defining moment for all of us, for all three generations that have gone through challenges before and will go through challenges going forward. So it's a defining moment. Mm-hmm. The world before Corona was definitely different. The world now is different. And post-Corona, which I hope will happen soon, the world will be completely different. We will be, this has been a very humbling kind of an experience. It has reminded mankind that neither technology, nor science, nor power, nor money has the ability to deal with the will of God. And therefore, it has been a very, as I said, grounded kind of experience that most of us have got in the last month or so. And I hope that makes us better human beings. And those of us that survive Corona will contribute more meaningfully in the lives of others apart from their own lives.
Very true, very true. So, sir, how are you dealing with it? Are you working from home, or are you attending all the events and all the corporate strategies that you give generally? Because I know that you are involved in multiple organizations and academic institutes. So how are you handling those? I mean, is everything at halt right now, or everything is going on in the same pace?
No, what is happening is that one or two of my consultancies are active, and they take an hour of my time each. Okay. There are projects which are ongoing, and there are teams that have been formed. So we are on the WhatsApp, we are on email, and therefore there's active consultation that is happening on two of my clients. On another two or three of my clients, it is an occasional motivational meeting. We just discuss on the phone the impact on cash flows, the impact on people, the turnaround strategies that we might want to employ the moment things open up. So it's more like staying in touch on the phone and being connected and providing not so much consultation support, but emotional support and the fact that we are all in it together kind of a support. So it keeps me busy for some time. Lectures in the two institutes that I'm associated with I haven't been doing any of those lectures. Although, in Jamnalal Bajaj, there is, we have started online for some of the subjects that we have. In SPJMR, I am teaching the family-run business course, which is suspended for a month. It's a one-week contact per month kind of course. So the April contact has been suspended, March and April, and we'll review it as we go along. But I haven't yet started my online lectures in Bajaj either. I'll tell you, a lot of, us are difficult to suffer even when we are offline and one-on-one, and on online, to make a bunch of students suffer us. What I heard about in terms of the experiences of those students which have already gone online, they are not very happy because of technology and other reasons. And management lectures are not best delivered online unless they're really crass and mediocre. So, it's going to be a challenge to kind of deal with lectures which are interactive online. But hopefully we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And the lectures also would commence either online, but hopefully offline. Hopefully we would be able to meet again as a civilization and not stay isolated on an island.
I'm hopeful of that, but referring to the very fact that you are so hopeful and optimistic, I would also want to address the post and the response of yours to Shobha Day, which went viral and which went all crazy and was being multiple times shared by all BJP followers and BJP, MLAs. What is the take on it? Can you give us a little insight on what really happened there? What just went? How did it go viral, and what was your response in particular?
No, somebody just marked me one or two or three, articles or filings, postings put up by some of our pseudo-intellectual, pseudo-secular gang. Yeah. And there are a lot of them, as you know, who take it upon themselves to kind of, take their so-called pseudo-liberal thinking to, unreasonable levels. And at times like these, it's not time for people to kind of indulge in government bashing and indulge in clever kind of observations, sure. which don't do anything in terms of contributing to resolving some of the crises we have. So there are a lot of these people who kind of flash their self-proclaimed literary skills, if you can call them that, to reposition the country, to reposition the Prime Minister, to reposition our Corona warriors. And I came across two such, one from a lady called Brinda Grover, who's a lawyer, I understand, in Delhi, and the other from Shobha Day. And I found them particularly frivolous, objectionable in the content and in the way they had handled and interpreted the crisis. They also seemed like very pessimistic and negative, rather than, appreciating the work that has been done. So I kind of sent out a couple of replies, which then I put out on a few of my contacts. And the replies were kind of sharper than the original articles, and therefore they went viral. Yeah. The replies essentially were kind of telling them, they were making a mockery of India lighting lamps and India clapping and, our, ability to kind of recognize our Corona warriors, those kind of things. And therefore, I kind of came down heavily on such articles, and also belittling the effort, the Herculean effort of the government and the various officials, especially the frontliners, the healthcare workers, the doctors, the workers that are on the street, the law enforcers, the police, and the kind of mockery that is being made of them by certain sections of society, which have kind of escaped with the help of a chief minister in Delhi, and I was going around spreading the pandemic. So I'm particularly upset that, these opinion leaders, these pseudo-secular people have not thought it fit to kind of advise these kind of guys who are going around the country infecting people to stay quarantined, to surrender themselves, and to kind of not indulge in activity, which is quite clearly anti-human life, apart from being anti-national. So, at a time like this, these articles from our pseudo-intellectuals actually do us harm. And therefore, I don't quite appreciate making a mockery of the effort that is being done by all of us to cope with this, which clearly is the biggest crisis in our lives so far. So that is why I put out those posts, and I ask these people to be constructive instead of negative, and come up with suggestions if they have to, and at least advise the misguided that this is no soldier sent by Allah to kill the kafirs, and Corona is serious business, and people have to kind of cooperate to ensure that it doesn't spread and that there is no community transmission. So instead of that, these guys carry on with their usual government bashing, Modi bashing kind of activity, which I believe this is not the time for. We need to kind of unite in the fight against this pandemic. It is a global fight, and my heart really, I have a sense of pain when I see so many people dying. I just saw a newspaper report, a TV report today, that Hart Island in the US, for example, is being used as a common grave. Italy, northern Italy, France, these are times where we normally spend our April and May together. So we identify with people there. We have friends in Bergamo, and the seriousness of it. We had a friend in Dubai who actually is a survivor of Corona, he and his wife. So Corona for us is not a distant problem which somebody in Italy or somebody in Spain or the British Prime Minister is undergoing. It is real, it is right there. And therefore you have to treat this whole thing with a lot more of empathy, a lot more of involvement. And the first thing you can do is, of course, isolate yourself in social distancing, but much beyond that, and do what you can for whoever you can, and give your friends and family whatever reassurance you can. So while I've not been afraid of this virus, I haven't been worried about it, except that I might, if the lockdown continues, do my will, which I haven't yet done. So, I have to kind of work on my will one of these days. I don't have too many things to kind of will away, but whatever little wealth I have to work on my will. And what I do is I use the time to kind of interact with people, ensure that there is no misinformation, ensure that we protect those that, we have many relatives who are doctors and on the front line. So at this, I have a lot of Muslim friends who I kind of continue to motivate, because the entire Muslim community doesn't back this rubbish activity which has been unleashed by the Tablighi Jamaat. It's not a Muslim versus Hindu situation. It's not a communal situation. And a lot of right-thinking Muslims are as embarrassed and as irritated with this activity as we are. So, that's in that context I responded to the Shobhades and the Brunda Grovers of the world, asking them to show some restraint and not to get overexcited with their mediocre language skills.
And I'm assuming I'm all in agree. I'm agreeing with whatever you had written with that, because I'm sure that the government is doing its bit, and it's time that we collaborate with the government. And it's not that it's a competition between the government and the opposition and everything. It's just a human situation, and we need to connect and collaborate on a larger mass, on a larger scale as a larger mass, to help the government address the issue. We cannot just keep Modi bashing in one place, but we cannot keep saying that the government is not doing enough. I mean, what will the government anyway do? What is your opinion on what can the government do better? Do you have any opinion on
Shashank,
that? Yeah.
Shashank, we are a fifth of the world, and technically by ratios, a fifth of the virus affected people, and a fifth of those that have unfortunately died from the virus could have been from this country. The
Correct.
fact of the matter is that we are a small fraction of the total number of affected people.
Yeah.
We are a small fraction of the total deaths. A third of these affected people and deaths have been as a result of the Markaz attendees and their irresponsible anti-national, anti-life activity, and which has added chaos to confusion. So the question is, whatever we have done now is remarkable, and we're not a rich country. I mean, we can do, it's very fashionable to say testing. Right. You can't stand outside my house in Carter Road and do testing. There are limitations in terms of the facilities we have, in terms of the cost of the test. So the first thing that we could have done rightly was social distancing and staying at home. And therefore the lockdowns, and as you can see, a lot of state governments are actually encouraging more and more of extensions of the lockdown. This was the only thing to do. We all are aware of the economic consequences, the social consequences of this. And I'm sure the powers that be are fully engaged. And all of us have a role to contribute when the time is right to kind of mitigate some of the economic and social issues. But, at a time when the world is kind of looking at a recession of the worst kind since 1929, you're not going to be talking about why GDP has not grown at 5%, and why it's growing at 2 or 3% when the world is staring at negative GDP. So, these quackish economists or economists that are normally led by left of center liberals, who, while they have achieved a lot by way of getting a Nobel Prize mocking the poverty of emerging nations, these economists don't need to tell us how to overcome. We'll find a way to overcome. In fact, I believe that India will get stronger. As you know, this seems like a biological war, and which countries are involved in this activity. And, there will be international response. I mean, you can't make a mockery of the whole of Europe, the whole of United States, of India, of Brazil, of emerging markets, emerging economies. You can't make a mockery of Islam in Iran and etc. and get away with it. So the response, economic response will emerge, and India is already taking the lead, both domestically and globally, to look at how to respond in terms of economics. So I think we need to be patient. We need to kind of hold our horses. And if we have nothing concrete to add, we shouldn't mock people who are lighting lights or who are clapping for the corona warriors. Incidentally, the United States last night was howling in California, in New York, in upstate New York, in New Jersey, in support of their health workers and in support of... So what people thought was funny here is actually taken on by others, and we are showing the way. So it has to be a collaborative effort. Politics has to be kept aside for the moment. We need to first live to fight another day. If we live, we can definitely fight. It's all very well to have different points of view, and everybody is entitled to their point of view. But the time now is to kind of ensure that we rally in together.
True. Very
so
true.
That was the substance of my reactions, which have received overwhelming response from a good part of the world, except a few pseudo-intellectuals, a few NRIs, who are still preoccupied with their outdated mode of thinking and with an arrogance which emanates from the strength of India, unfortunately.
True, very true. I mean, I totally agree with that. But, getting on a lighter note, so I get the point that the economy is suffering, and, we all are majorly and massively affected by what is going on. But and we are staying at home. So how are you staying at home? What are you doing? I mean, are you part of the household chores suddenly, or are you binge watching like a millennial? I mean, what are you doing at home?
I was telling some of my friends in the US who are part of the arrogant brigade and who always ridicule India, and where now the epicenter is of this virus. I was telling them that I was almost close to getting down or going down to the lifestyle that they have, which is cleaning, stocking up, washing, driving their own cars, cleaning up the lawn. We don't have lawns here, as you know, in Mumbai. Clearing the driveway of snow. So we were almost getting down to doing all of that. Fortunately for me and my family, one of our 3 servants was here on the day of the lockdown, and she chose to stay with us. So she has been with us, and not moved out of the house for the last 20 weeks. So we have been fortunate in having reasonably good food, and the house gets cleaned and, all of that. So she goes down and puts the garbage away, etc. So we are privileged, like many are, to have, in fact, it is the poor, it is the downtrodden who help us live. And that is the reality that people need to kind of, it's those guys who clean the roads, the hamals, the ward boys in the hospital, the sweepers in the hospital. These are the people who are helping people to live today, apart from the doctors and the law enforcers. And we've been lucky to have this lady of ours in the house, and she herself is a cancer survivor. So, we kind of treat her with care and we don't load her with too much. So we join her in doing various things, including cooking, etc. I also have cats in the house, and we feed about 20 cats on Carter Road. In normal times, the Bharat Darshan, the Mumbai Darshan bus stops by to see the cat feed that we do in Carter Road near Rajesh Khanna's bungalow outside my building. So we have 20 cats that come in from the neighborhood, whether they are from Sachin Tendulkar's bungalow or Ashirwad or wherever. They come here for breakfast and dinner. Now I have ensured that I personally go down with a glove and a mask and feed them. I go to the nearby Danda market, in which we continue to get fish because the boats are going out. So that's the only thing available in abundance. And I continue to feed the cats 2 times a day because, we need to they have a right to live as much as all of us do in the wake of COVID. And so, I spend time with them. In fact, they get more of my time and attention than they would normally get. They're actually confused. They wonder why I'm wearing a glove. 1 or 2 of them would come in and kind of tear off my glove, asking why I'm wearing that. But I spend time with the strays. It's important to feed strays. It's important not to spread rumors that COVID gets transmitted through strays and to harass strays on the road. So it's important. Overall, I think COVID, as I told you, is a humbling experience, and it has taught us how to look after people's interests, animal interests, the interest of others, as much as you look after yourself. I also go to my mother's house nearby twice a week with food and provisions. She lives alone. Her servant comes off and on. Now she has stopped coming. So I go there and ensure that I cheer her up and ensure that she's stocked up with cooked food and things like that. So, I kind of, instead of worrying about whether I'm going to get hit by Corona tomorrow and whether I will live or not, I kind of adjust to the new routine. And, as I said, the clients, some of them are active. The others, the consultancy activity will open up with more vigor going forward, because, it will only be the fittest that will survive the fallout of Corona. And we will make whoever we get in touch with in the client base and among our students fitter to deal with the fallouts of Corona. So there's business which I'm sure will come up hopefully sooner than later. Right now, my eyes are on the numbers of affected in Mumbai, in Delhi. Unfortunately, Modi bashing is fine, but the top 5 states of incidence of Corona are in fact non-BJP states. Now we have to not think of politics, but look at how to curb the menace in Maharashtra and Mumbai, in Delhi, in Tamil Nadu, in Rajasthan, in Telangana, which are all kind of vying with each other to take the second spot behind Maharashtra. And all of these need to be helped. And I'm sure everybody needs to pull in the same direction. So it's a tough kind of period. But I do keep busy, and I sit at my window and look at the sea. As you probably know, I live on Carter Road, so I have rarely spent as much time with the ocean as I have in the last 3 to 4 weeks. So we open up our windows and we sit by and look at the sea come in to within 50 meters of our building and then go out again. And we look at, the stars which are clearly more visible now, the birds which make an attempt to come in through the window sometimes. And, they feel more free. with Corona. So somebody's loss is nature's gain. And so we look at the sea, interact with the sea, interact with nature, interact with my stray cats, and deal with and cope with this situation.
Great. I mean, I'm assuming that's a great way to unwind, and a lot of people might actually, after listening to this, find new avenues of unwinding, because that's what the reason is behind me asking you, because people are unwinding in different ways. So I am precisely doing these interviews at home, and there are people who are writing stuff, cooking stuff. The social media is all up with newer ideas of coping up with this quarantine, and clearly you have a very new way of doing it, and which is connecting with the nature. I mean, feeding the strays and looking at the ocean and unwinding. That's a very different way of looking at it.
And Shashank, I do appreciate what you're doing as well. You're connecting with people, you're helping people to share ideas, share thoughts, which I'm sure you will share further with people going out. It's all about being human at this time. It's
True.
all about being sensitive. And every time I see 700 people dying in London, in UK, or 800 people in Italy, it just hurts. And we hope that this whole thing won't spiral into anything bigger than it already is. So we just hope that human life is saved to begin with. And as I said, that should be the priority for everybody at this time. There is no point flexing your economic intelligence on an NDTV, because both the interviewer and the interviewed are equally stupid, and they lack an understanding of how economics work. So there is no point to talk to former governors of Reserve Bank and opine on how to kind of revive the economy, because they didn't know how to do it when they were governors in the first place.
Sure.
So it is unlikely that they would do it now. So the question is, just wait, be patient, let this crisis tide over, help the family. I've spent quality time with the family. We've cleaned up a lot of papers. I have 3 sacks of raddi to kind of dispose of now, with unnecessary papers cleaned off. We have cleaned off and given away already to my driver a whole lot of things which we didn't need, by way of clothes and those little things which were just crowding up. So you have to use the time to clean up cobwebs at home, in one's mind, and in life.
Perfect.
And you have to have thoughts which come into my mind. Some of them anger me, some of them frustrate me, some of them humble me. I look at the future a little differently. I worry for my students. I worry for some of my clients. I worry for some of my family, but not from the point of view of defeatism, but how to kind of take them forward. So lots of students of mine from Bajaj and other places talk about whether their placements will be deferred, talk about their internships and how that might impact them. I keep counseling them, and I keep telling them to hang in there, because, even if it is deferred, it's not the end of the world. So if you start in September instead of May, and you're still alive in September to start in September, that itself is a positive. So you have to look at positives in the negatives that we have. And that's the only way we can cope with crisis. And we have to hold each other's hands. That's the kind of concept I have. I've talked to many of my relatives, some of my friends. You also get to know who is your friend at such times and who feels for you stronger than others. So, there is a natural process of elimination that happens where the artificial are separated from the real, and the men are separated from the boys. So that is again, something which happens at times like these. So several reflections. I only hope things improve. I only hope things don't worsen, not in India, not in Mumbai, not anywhere in the world. And somehow, if China has the antidote to what has been unleashed from Wuhan, they should first make it available before they start talking about economic revival.
Very thoughtful of you. Very thoughtful and very thought-provoking, actually. And yes, on that positive note, we all are hoping that everything gets back to normal as soon as possible, and we all are back on track, be it a little delayed, as you mentioned that, it's better that we are alive than worrying about the fact that we are getting it all delayed and postponed. But it's great that we are all positive and we get back on life as soon as possible. So, sir, after this, we will be stepping into the next and the last segment of our conversation, which is awkward questions with Shashank. I'll be shooting questions at you, and you will have to be a little prompt, witty, and I am assuming you are all witty and prompt anyway, any which way. But we will test that in this.
You give me more credit than you should be giving. So I don't want to be disappointing you.
No. I'm sure you'll never disappoint us all. But we will be, so in this segment, I'll be shooting questions at you and you will be answering them as soon as possible. So let's start this. The first question here, it is that one stereotype you hate about the world associating it with you. I mean, what is that one stereotype you think people assume about you and you want to change it?
About me?
Yes, about you.
Well, they think that, I am too preoccupied with my point of view, which I'm not. So, while I have strong points of view, I'm not opinionated. So, and I'm very, very adaptable, very flexible. So that's something I would like to kind of change.
Okay.
That perception, if any, is something I would like to change.
Okay. Your opinion on the entire dating game of this generation. I mean, the generation and the dating game that we all are doing into, and what is your opinion on, what is your take on it?
On the dating game?
Yeah, dating game of our generation. Yes.
So dating like on WhatsApp or on offline or online?
Both. I mean, mostly it's online, especially because we are quarantined now. So I'm assuming everything has turned online. So what is your take on why millennials cannot find love?
Well, millennials can find love. Everybody can find love.
Okay.
And you're only as old as you think you are. So if you like to date, if you like to kind of connect with people emotionally or beyond that, do that. But like we say on everything else today, stay safe. So as long as you're safe, you're fine doing whatever you want to.
Okay.
And you will find love. You will find love if you're looking for love and you're willing to give love. Because love is not about finding. Love is about giving and sharing. But if you have the mindset of giving.
But don't you think it's difficult for this generation? I mean, compared to what I see, especially my parents and, my elder sister and everywhere, that generation was different. I mean, expectations from love was not unrealistic. And somehow I believe seeing myself and my thoughts and also people around me and people from my friend circle, I started believing that it's all ruined for us now. It's very different and the expectations are very unrealistic and very dreamy, and I'm assuming that is one of the reasons that finding love and giving love is also suddenly very difficult. Do you think the same?
It has always been. I mean, right from the Romeo and Juliet days and from the Adam and Eve days, love has always been a complicated issue. So it has never been straightforward. And often one mistakes infatuation for love. So you have to look at love on three platforms: the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual. And therefore, if you look at all of these together and you encourage your partner or partners to do the same, you will eventually find a little bit of love. It's about looking at life from a love angle. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with today's millennials. As you know, I have always had a large student base of people in the 2025 group.
Yeah.
And today's student base that I have, 2025, is as real, as sentimental, as emotional, as giving as it used to be 30 years ago. So, I don't think there's been anything dramatic which has been like a technological or a corona type infection that has affected the concept of love. It's a question of how you approach it. It's also about getting lucky, as you know, in love. Yeah. So it's a question of opportunity. It's a question of grabbing the opportunity when it comes. And it's a question of leveraging it and taking it to the next level. of spiritual and emotional companionship.
Very true. Okay, so the next question. I mean, have you watched any recent movie that has impacted you? I mean, affected you, changed you, or any movie that you really found amazing?
I have to tell you that I don't watch too many movies. Okay. So the only movies I watch are those in which Ranveer Singh acts, because his sister Ritika is a good friend of my daughter Niharika. And Ranveer and his parents normally invite us for a preview of all of his films. Okay. And most of them, of course, are brilliant. As you know, he's acted in some of the best films that have been released in the last 3-4 years. Yeah. Other than that, I haven't been watching too many films. But the one film I liked was Badhai Ho.
Okay.
Which was about a year ago with Neena Gupta, etc. I thought that was a good movie. But I'm not a great movie buff, so you're not going to get insights in terms of what is on and what is not.
Perfect. Any particular actor or actress that you have you particularly like? I mean, do you have a crush on anyone? Do you think that this person has amazing any skills or face or body or looks, anything about any actor or actress?
I don't have crush on actors and actresses. I normally have crushes on people that I can access.
Oh, okay.
So most, I wouldn't have a crush on actors and actresses. I'm over the teenage era where, you have a favorite film star or a favorite model or a favorite TV actress or an anchor. So I don't have a crush on any of them. But I like a few of them, of course, both in India and in Hollywood. And, I wouldn't say I have a crush on them.
Okay. So anyone in particular you like?
Yeah, I told you, I think Ranveer does a good job. Ranveer Singh does a good job of whatever he does. His wife now, Deepika Padukone, also acts quite well. Yeah. And in addition to that, I think even Ranbir Kapoor is somebody I think who does well. And this Ayushmann Khurrana guy has been doing some good films of late. So these are the people I would say, who's slightly better than the rest.
True. Sir, I mean, of course, you are married and you are very happy, settled as a family person, and obviously your vibe is very intellectual. But do you ever face a situation where you think that people are not taking you as seriously? Because I myself, being in the corporate now, I realize that there are situations when you realize that people are not taking you seriously enough because you are opinionated and because you are a certain kind and you're well groomed and you're presentable. People kind of take you lightly sometimes. People think that because you're not boring, you might not be as sincere. What is your take on that?
To begin with, I'm not opinionated. I have strong opinions, but I'm not opinionated. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, actually, people have been taking me more seriously than they should be taking me. So whether my students, whether my corporate colleagues, whether we talk about people in larger society, people in politics, people in social work, they all take me more seriously than they should be taken.
Okay.
And so when I write something or when I say something, which is why probably for the last 40 years people have paid to hear me speak. So I haven't had that problem. I would rather they don't take me as seriously as they sometimes do.
That's very, very, very very true. I mean, okay. So, sir, it was great interacting with you, and it's always so enriching. It's so, it's not only enriching on a communication level. It's enriching on a spiritual level as well, to talk to you and try to, get your viewpoint and your standpoint on certain agendas and issues around the world. And be it the classroom or be it this call, I always find it amazing to interact with you. And
it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you as well, Shashank. Stay safe, be happy, spread cheer. Thank you for connecting with me. Thank you for chatting with me and allowing me to share a few perspectives. God bless you. stay connected.
The pleasure is all mine, sir. Thank you so much for connecting. Bye-bye.
Not at all. My pleasure. Bye. Take care.